Does your pet suffer from severe storm phobias? Well, there's some things you can do. Dr. Langlois explains in his latest Pet Health Tip of the Day.
Hello again, everybody. This is Dr. Langlois with your Pet Health Tip of the Day, and as you can see, I'm decked out in the case of any kind of severe weather coming through. We are the time of year where we tend to see a lot more severe weather and severe thunderstorms, but even as we go through the rest of the summer, you never know when those severe thunderstorms are going to potentially pop up. And I'm going to talk to you today about one thing that we do get a little bit concerned about when it comes to thunderstorms, and that is storm phobias, or fears of thunderstorms, and how it can affect pets differently depending on how afraid they may be. There are some dogs, like my own Louis, who will sit outside in a thunderstorm and not even care. He thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. But there are some animals out there that are very, very severely affected via fear when it comes to storm phobias and things like that. And I wanted to explain one thing first that's a little bit of a misconception with people and their pets, and that is they get very, very concerned and they think their pet is really suffering if the pet goes off and hides during a thunderstorm. Now, that is not necessarily a bad thing, because you have to think of it from the psychology of the animal, which is this. From their perspective, if they are just going off to run into a closet or under the bed or something like that, and that's about it, in their mind, what they're thinking of is, oh my God, something scary is coming along, I know it is, but if I go to this place, it goes away. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There really is no need to necessarily medicate that. I know a lot of owners get very concerned and upset when their pets do that, but really, from the animal's perspective, it's not the worst thing in the world. Where we do get a little concerned is when, instead of just hiding, sometimes the pets become incredibly anxious or even potentially destructive, trying to get out of the house, trying to dig through a closet, just not being able to get comfortable, things like that. And so there are some things that you can potentially look at to help your pet through those times. Some of them are medications, some of them are things that you can do just without any kind of medication. And you can try a little sound desensitization if you're playing kind of thunder noises in the background while you're playing with your pet in the living room. That may work, that may not work. It's certainly something you can talk to your vet about potentially trying. The other thing we try to do sometimes is just talk to them about natural methods of reducing their anxiety, and one of those is something that has been marketed and actually is pretty effective, and it's called a thunder shirt. And as you can see over my shoulder here, this is what it looks like, and basically it's designed to kind of put a pressure protective feeling on the animal. And I'll be honest, in the people that I've talked to, it's about 50-50. 50% of the time it seems to work, 50% of the time it doesn't, but it's relatively inexpensive and it's certainly something worth trying. You can also talk to your vet about something called Adaptil, which is a collar form, which is the form I like best, and it's kind of what has in it what we call this dog-appeasing pheromone. And it's a pheromone that's been synthetically engineered to mimic the kind of pheromone that a mom puts out when she's nursing her puppies to calm the puppies down. And we have found that this works very, very well in a lot of cases of anxiety with dogs. In cats, it's called Fellaway. It's the same concept. Again, relatively inexpensive, and you certainly can talk to your vet about potentially trying a collar like that to reduce the anxiety. There are some kind of what we call nutraceuticals out there as well that you can try, and the one that everybody seems to be pretty high on right now is something called Zilkene. And this is based on kind of a milk protein, again going back to the mom nursing the puppies thing, that is designed basically to provide more of a calming state. And again, this can be done for storm phobias. It can also be done for other forms of anxiety, but you want to talk to your vet to make sure that it's definitely the right one. When we talk about actual medications, it used to be very, very common that veterinarians prescribe sedatives. The most common one out there is acepromazine. Your vet may give you a couple of tablets of ACE and say give it half an hour before a thunderstorm, things like that. And what we've actually found lately is that probably is not necessarily the best thing, because it's not taking away the anxiety component that is causing the real stress to begin with. Sure, it is making them perhaps more sedate, but in their minds, the anxiety is still there. So we've actually switched, in a lot of cases, to a lot of the short-acting anti-anxieties that are out there, one of the most common ones being Xanax. And you certainly can talk to your vet about what dosage would be appropriate and how you can potentially get a couple of tablets of Xanax for your dog. You want to talk to them about issues with cats. It can be a little bit more tricky. There's not a lot of great medications for anxiety in cats out there, unfortunately, that work very well. But you can certainly talk to your vet about things that you might be able to try. They actually do make thunder shirts for cats. I am not too familiar with how well they potentially work or don't work, but it is something you can talk to your vet about. You can also try the Fellaway collars, which tend to work. I would also recommend, if you are going to go with Xanax or something like that, that maybe you just try it on a day when nothing's going on, because you want to see, or even if they give you acepromazine, you want to see how that dose is going to affect your animal. You want to know that ahead of time and roughly how long it takes to take effect, so this way you can kind of treat accordingly. And that's really important to remember too. Talk to your vet about proper dosing and when to give and things like that. So these are all things that you potentially can try. And remember, if they just kind of go and hide until the storm's over, that's not the worst thing in the world. To them, everything is turning out to be okay. So you definitely want to consider all of those things when dealing with potential thunderstorms in the area. And as always, if you have any questions about this, you definitely want to talk to your vet and hopefully make this a great spring and summer season and anxiety-free for your pets. And that is your Severe Weather Bulletin Pet Health Tip of the Day.
If you have any more questions about potential storm phobias in your pets, be sure to check out some of these websites, or even better yet, as always, contact your local and trusted veterinarian today.